factory over 100 years ago. So first things first, I do need a little bit of chocolate. So I'm going to get some out of my tap here like that. Now can you guys imagine having one of those in your kitchen at home? My table here is made of marble. Does anybody like to touch this table and let me know, is it hot or is it cold? Cold, yes. That's because we're going to be cooling that chocolate down. But importantly, we're also going to be remixing in all the ingredients. Now, of course, today a lot of this is done by our machines. Back then, in the Victorian times, they wouldn't have had any of those fancy machinery, so they would have had to do this all by hand. And we're going to be making lovely, shiny, smooth chocolate by the end of this, which is exactly what we want. So my table here, as mentioned before, is a very good conductor of heat. So what we're going to be doing is spreading my chocolate out, working back through it with the spatula and mixing in all of those ingredients. You guys ever had chocolate that's been in your pocket on a hot summer's day? You might have noticed a few little orange or white streaks to the surface. That's what happens when chocolate heats up. The cocoa butter and the cocoa crystals inside, they start to separate, and of course we don't want that. So what we're doing here is we're just making sure we end up with all of that lovely shiny chocolate that's befitting of the Cadbury name instead. So they did have thermometers back then, but these are made out of glass and often contain mercury. You wouldn't really want those breaking off into your chocolate because of course you couldn't sell it and you definitely wouldn't want to eat it. So all that you can do instead to check the temperature is use their little finger. They're going to do the chocolate, checking for any hot spots, and once it was nice and cold, they'd reckon it was about ready to use. And what do you guys think they would have done with that little bit on the end there?
Look it up.
Yeah, health and safety wasn't really a thing back then, and neither was CCTV cameras. So I also reckon they would have had a cheeky bit of a taste. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed. Now the other thing they used to use back then are these metal moulds. These are quite heavy, and they've been working for 8 hours a day with these. They are quite noisy, but don't worry, we're not going to be using those ones. And finally, you cannot see through the back of them. I want you to remember that fact, because we'll be coming back to it right at the end of the demonstration. What we have today are plastic moulds like these. They're very light, not quite as noisy, and I can see through the back of them, which is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is take my tempered chocolate. I'm going to pour it into the mould. So you should start to see is how the chocolate fills up all my squares. I'll give it a bit of a helping hand with the palette now. But it's okay if there is a little bit of excess because we'll be coming back for that at the end. What I'm going to do is push that to the side and scrape off the rest of the chocolate. Now, you should see there might be a few little gaps inside this chocolate. That's okay because we're going to tap those out now. Because we've been hand tempering